Okay, we now have more information about Nigel Farage's bank cancellation. So initially we had Nigel Farage exposing it. Then we had Coutts and Co, the actual bank. He didn't even name the bank publicly, but they decided to use the BBC, the bank, to come and discuss a private customer and a private citizen's information publicly using mainstream media. And now we know that the regulations and the rules that they were using to crack down on people like Nigel Farage actually came from the European Union. What a surprise. Now, we have discussed this before, but it is important to remind people that EU laws still exist in our country, and some of them are being used against us by the establishment. And by the establishment, we're not just talking about the political establishment, not necessarily politicians, but anything from the banking industries to the mainstream media to all the other institutions. So now the problem is getting worse because part of the EU regulations when it came to banking was, and also just the exposure of people was PEP, the politically exposed people. And this issue has now been used or misused by banks to cancel anybody who has a controversial political opinion. That includes Nigel Farage. So they've decided to basically go with that. Now that this has been exposed, our political leaders, so government ministers, are being urged to do something about it. And we have some MPs who are pushing it. So I think we are going to see a backlash. I think we're going to see something to be fixed, at least a short-term plaster, just for the sake of Nigel Farage, because Nigel Farage has a big platform. If it were someone smaller, again, we've had issues with Tommy Robinson, Katie Hopkins, many others, and nobody cared. And that's the problem. But Nigel Farage has a bigger platform, so people like Jeremy Hunt as Chancellor, they feel the urgency to do something about it. So Nigel Farage came out and said, "What is happening to me and so many others is a direct result of EU laws that have been incorporated into the UK rulebook. Add to that Britain's obsession with gold-plating EU regulation, and that is how this injustice has been allowed to come about. If only our government had pursued the Brexit freedoms available, it still could and should do the right thing here and repeal the law." So we do have some good update. The government is going to be repealing the law thanks to people like Kemi Badenoch, who have been putting a lot of pressure on the Chancellor, Jeremy Hunt. Yeah, I have to be careful how to say the name. And the Treasury have to, because there's a massive also growing concern inside the Conservative Party, as in the grassroots members, the actual Conservatives, not the wet Liberal Tories. They are also kicking off, and the Tory Party obviously feel the urgency because they are losing their political donors, they are losing so many members, MPs and councillors are quitting and resigning for their membership, so they want to keep anybody who's left in the party, so they have to listen. So that is how the one element of our democracy that still works, if you put fear into our politicians and our political parties. So Andrew Griffith, who is the Economic Secretary to the Treasury, who works under Jeremy Hunt, has now written officially to the Financial Conduct Authority, so the regulators, asking it to speed up a review of the rules, saying, given the strength of concern on this issue, I would expect that the FCA will prioritize this important review over the coming months. And if there are easy wins along the way, we will and then obviously implement those. Firstly, why should it take months? Again, I know the problem we have with the bureaucracy in this country is insane. So everything does take ages. Even if you want to book an appointment, simple appointment with the NHS, it takes ages. But that's not really a good excuse, is it? Because we have one EU law, for example, to just review. The government keeps saying that they want to review all the other EU laws, not all of them. They're not going to repeal all the EU laws anymore, but they have said they have 600 or whatever that's going to be repealed or amended. So can you just fast track one of them at least to win that, to get that easy win that you claim that you want to get, because the election's coming up. But again, this is the fundamental problem, that we have thousands of EU laws still in our statute books, and nobody in the Tory government is feeling the urgency because they've been pushed by people in the establishment, whether it's, again, the financial establishment or the others, or the legal establishment, who are kicking off about it. Civil servants are listening to them, and they're pushing their bosses, the actual ministers, to listen to the establishment. And that's bad. It's weak leadership. And now we have this. We have so many cartoons and memes being created, free cash withdrawals. In order to proceed, please declare any controversial opinion. This is the world we're going towards now. I mean, we're already there, but in terms of the cartoon or the exaggeration of it, it could get much worse if we do not attack it now, if we do not challenge it now, while it's still doable, let's just say. Now, we are going to keep an eye on this story as usual, but in the next video, we're going to come to you guys every half an hour. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. We're going to come back in half an hour and talk to you guys about a victory. So it's not all doom and gloomy, but we also have some victories, this time against our favorite EU Ramona lawyer, Julian Mohan. Subscribe to the channel. I'm Mahyar Tousi, and we are the media.